much too complex. Too complex. Much too complex.
Welcome back to the BlackTrack, where I do commentary and review on movies with an all-black cast or at least a black lead. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I know you had all kinds of good food that you probably only really get once a year around this same time. Unlike the people in today's movie, where every Sunday is Thanksgiving it seems. That movie is Soul Food, a 1997 movie directed by George Tillman Jr. George Tillman based Soul Food primarily on his own family and his experiences growing up. He had 6 aunts, but decided to narrow it down to 3 for this movie. That's a good thing, because according to him, his original script made for an almost 3-hour movie. I mean, I love Nia Long, Vivica Fox, and Vanessa Williams as much as the next man, but I don't know if I love them enough to sit through 3 hours of what essentially is supposed to be a feel-good drama. Those 3 lovely ladies play 3 sisters in the Joseph family, a family headed by a matriarch who seemingly couldn't produce any boys and just gave up after the 3rd girl. The title Soul Food comes from the fact that the family has a big Sunday dinner every week, and it seemingly held them together for decades. I like the fact that Soul Food presents a black family in a realistic aspect. Since it's based on a real-life family, it's not overly sanitized to make everything appear perfect, nor does it go to the extreme in the opposite direction to make them seem hopeless. It's just a regular middle-class black family with regular everyday problems that wasn't shown a lot at the time or really shown now, to be honest. Listening to George Tillman on the director's commentary, you can tell this was a bit of a passion project for him. This was only his 2nd movie, and the guy was a bit of a perfectionist. He talks about not having enough time to do this or that and wanting things to be different here or there. Because of that, there's a lot of attention to detail in the film and small things you might not have noticed upon first viewing. That's the mark of a young director who just wanted everything to be perfect. It helps that he was able to secure a good cast who was able to improvise a lot of the dialogue in the film to make it more authentic. The director put a lot of effort into making sure this was a good movie for 1997, but does all that hard work hold up well enough to make this a good movie in 2021? Let's BlackTrack and find out. I know actors hate it when they gotta dig up all these old pictures because some director wants to do a montage. I mean, they got everybody too. Honestly, it works though, and it sets the mood with the help of the song Mama from Boyz II Men. The Joseph family is having a wedding where they eating good as hell. I ain't never seen that kind of food at a wedding. That's definitely not $25 a plate catering. Soul Food starts out with what y'all already know is a cardinal sin in my book, and that's narration. Matter of fact, the whole movie is narrated by this little guy Ahmad, who's played by Brandon Hammond, who I just talked about in my video for Tales from the Hood. It's so unnecessary right here too, because the camera pan gets the characters' personalities across just as good as any narration can. You can tell that Maxine, played by Vivica Fox, and her husband Kenny is a happy family with multiple kids. Terry, played by Vanessa Williams, is a bit of a prude with an outgoing husband who's just trying to make it work. And Bird, played by Nia Long, is the happy bride who's married to this Mekhi Phifer looking motherfucker. Oh shoot, that is Mekhi Phifer. And by the looks of things, he's already had too much to drink. I deciphered all of that just by looking at visual clues and details. So I waste all that dialogue by having somebody tell us. Finally, there's Mama Jo, the mother of all these ladies, and it's her job to keep everybody in line in this place. She's failing spectacularly at this though, because not only is Lim dancing with his ex-girlfriend, but Bird is getting felt up by her ex-boyfriend. My first instinct is to ask, why the fuck are these people even here? While it's true that literally anybody could show up to your wedding, it's a whole lot harder to get access to a reception where the numbers are heavily monitored. So that means somebody had to invite these people. Y'all asked for this drama. Dang, I don't even think she got no drawers on. Good lord. Big Mama Jo saves the day, but this marriage is off to a garbage start. Y'all ain't ate enough of this food at the wedding? It's Sunday, so I bet it's the very next day too. The Joseph family gets together every Sunday for dinner. They even invite extra people because they don't like leftovers, I guess. By extra, I mean they invite this perverted reverend every Sunday. Before you get mad at me for calling a good reverend a pervert, just look at this dude. No means no, man. What would Jesus do? Got Kenny ready to fight and everything. I just love how authentic this family is. There's even a crazy uncle in the back room that nobody ever sees. It's a little too authentic though, because just like most families, they barely get along. Terry and Max can't stand each other, and it probably has a lot to do with the fact that Terry always throws her success in everybody's face. Nah, come on son, you know what's simpler than that. It's because of a man. Kenny to be precise. In fairness, Kenny ain't Back in the day, he totally ditched Terry to get with Maxine while they were on a date. Now you married to her, Kenny? I wish I had balls Kenny size. He must have had all those kids to relieve all the pressure from his gigantic balls. Mama Jo dreamed of fishes, so that means either somebody is booted or somebody new is showing up. I never knew about that second part. Nobody ever mentions that part. In this case, somebody is showing up, and it's Cousin Faith. Literally, nobody at the table likes her. I wouldn't have even walked into this hostile environment. Well, the good Reverend likes her anyway. This isn't really surprising, but come to find out, Big Mama is a diabetic. I'm not trying to make light of it or anything, but this line gets me every time.
There's no blood circulating to that leg. You're diabetic. You haven't been watching what you eat.
No, y'all haven't been watching what she eats. Y'all are there every Sunday with all that nonsense on the table. Seriously, how detached from reality are these people to not know how this was gonna turn out? Hell, they next while you're playing. You know, while Max and Kenny are away from the rest of the family, they're pretty happy people. They just had a baby, Kenny has a good job, things are great. It's short-lived, however, because family is never too far away, even extended family. Lim shows up and needs a favor from Kenny. If I failed to mention it earlier, Lim is a convicted felon. It's hard for felons to find a job out here, so he lies on his application so he can get work. The bad thing about that is that jobs usually find out, so he needs Kenny to help him find a new job before Bird finds out. One interesting thing I always liked about Soul Food is that the husbands are a reflection of their wives. Maxine is a bit of an underachiever, so her husband works himself to death to take care of the family. Lim is a felon, and it's already established that Bird's ex was an asshole, so she's a bit of a bad judge of character. And Terry is an overachiever, and a bit terrible to her husband because he dares to have aspirations outside of work, so he really can't stand her. I kinda gotta give it to Vanessa Williams though, because she does a good job of portraying a terrible person. Hell, I'm still mad at her for this role, and it was over 20 years ago. I guess she's not the worst person in the world though. She did give Cousin Faith a place to stay. Big Mama gotta have surgery to have her leg removed, but there's complications and she has a stroke. That put her down for basically the entire movie. However, will the family survive without her? Spoiler alert, they won't. And they already off to a fantastic start because Terry and Max start an argument right over Big Mama in the hospital. Max wants to have Sunday dinner tomorrow, but Terry thinks it's bad timing. I gotta give it to Terry on this one. I don't even think I'd be hungry if this happened to one of my parents. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start a running tally to see who's right and who's wrong in Terry and Max's arguments. Earlier, Maxine started the argument at the dinner table, so I gotta give the wrong to her. Looks like Max is already down 2-0. 3-0 if you want to get technical and darker for taking Kenny. I'm gonna let that slide though. As expected, nobody showed up to the dinner, and Bird, who is the worst cook in the family, had to try to make it work. Even the crazy family member don't want it. Rev ain't missing no meals though, although I don't think he's there for the food. You better watch him, Lim. Terry's husband Miles decides to quit being a lawyer and pursue music full time. Man, I wish I had your courage, especially since you don't even have support. Terry didn't even show up to watch him perform, but I'll tell you who did show up. Somebody think they slick. The director said that he intended for there to be an extended dance sequence right here, but felt like the conversation and eye contact was enough to get the point across without beating you up with it. I'm surprised it wasn't narrated. Aunt Terry didn't show up to see Miles perform, but Cousin Faith was there to pick up the slack and pick up on Uncle Miles. I'm just glad to see Michael Beach take some initiative and stop being bossed around by Joe Clark. You know how back in the day when you got out of school early, but you wasn't supposed to, and then you went home, but nobody was supposed to know you was home, and then you forgot sometimes that your mama come home for lunch? Clearly Lim never had this happen to him, because he's mighty comfortable being home for a dude with no job. Bird catches him at the house between the hours of 8 and 5, and he's forced to tell her that he lost his job. I don't get the big deal about not telling her anyway. That thinking is antiquated as hell. If I lose my job, I would think that my wife would think it was more attractive that I tried to find another one immediately, not try to hide it. What do I know? I do know that it would have been crazy awkward when it came time to pay the bills and Lim ain't had no money. As a side note here, Miles helps Faith by playing the piano for her dance audition, and this routine is light years better than that dance scene in the movie Save the Last Dance. That's it. That's the post. Why you got this fool in your hair salon, Bird? What you up to?
When I first saw Samuel, I know he was up to no good. He wanted Bird bad, and there wasn't nothing he wouldn't do or say to get her.
Forget what I'm talking about. Why do you always seem to be everywhere, dude? Do your parents even raise you? You never with them. Things are finally looking up because Lim got a job. He's doing great too. At least that's what this guy just told him. I know he's important because he has a clipboard. Look at him smiling. It's like a girl just told him he was cute. Oh, here come this pretty mother. Where's Nino Brown when you need him? Now we know what Bird was up to. She led her ex to believe he could get some action if he got her husband a job. In what universe was that a good idea? Especially knowing how bold this dude is. He sits in front of Lim and goes on and on about Bird's body and how much money he makes in carrying on. I'm uncomfortable looking at the scene myself and I'm not even there. Mostly because we keep getting these close-ups of his lips. George Tillman said that the close-up on the lips were intentional to drive home the fact that he was a pretty boy. I don't think that was necessary. I think we kind of figured it out on our own. He's sitting way too close to a guy that he's blatantly disrespecting. So Lim went ahead and made like Hank Aaron. Lim is pissed off at Bird justifiably, but I applaud him for having restraint. He barely touches her. Like Chris Rock says, you just gotta shake her a little. Good job, fam. Of course, by the time the story gets around, the family turns it into Lim suplexing her and everything else. That prompts Terry to call that one criminal cousin that nobody really messes with until they need muscle. But like I always say, be careful sending family members to fight for you, because you're doing it under the assumption that that family member won't mess around and get their ass whipped. Oops. Look at him, begging. He's not tough at all. I tell you, people in this movie always in the right place at the right time. Lim goes back to jail for having a gun as a felon, and this look on his face always kind of hits me in the chest because he knows he done messed up and disappointed Ahmad. I know that they said they needed Mama Jo here to hold the family together, but I don't know exactly what she could have done in all these situations. Take this one for instance. Miles gets drunk with Cousin Faith and starts talking about all their problems, and he basically dares her to be who she really is and go for what she wants. Well, guess what, Pikachu? She choose you. Miles just said to hell with it at this point. He's yet another guy whose mom clearly never caught him home too early because Terry creeps up on him creeping. Of course, Ahmad is there too because he can teleport at will. At first I was like, hold up. Wasn't he in his father's car when Lim got arrested? How did he end up with Terry if this was supposed to be the same night? But then I saw how light it was outside and I'm like, maybe this is early the next morning. But then in the very next scene, which is the same day, I assume, it's night again. So I don't know what to tell y'all. Also, y'all think just because Mama Jo in the hospital, y'all could just have parties all up in her house. This might be the worst time for everybody to be in one place. Terry and Max start their usual argument, and this one is about Terry wanting to sell Big Mama's house. I gotta say Terry started this argument. She's one to Max's too. I kinda understand though, because she's going through something. But I think she puts it better than I ever could.
Oh, fuck the family! The family? I love the family in my house. You know what? The family fucked my husband.
This might be the most emotion she showed in the whole movie, and it's a powerful turn for her character. She has all kinds of insecurities but hides it behind her success. I think she has the most layers out of all the sisters. Everybody looks to her for financial support and decision making, but then they give her crap for pointing that out. Ahmad just don't know what to do at this point, and since he's clearly emancipated from his parents and can do what he wants, he goes down to the hospital to see Mama Jo. She wakes up just in time to tell Ahmad how strong he is and give him some inspiring words before passing away. He interprets it to mean that he should get everybody together for Sunday dinner. We see how well that worked out last time, so he has to come up with a scheme to trick everybody there. Everybody in his family greedy as hell, so all he has to do is tell everybody that Mama Jo left some money hidden in the house, and it's on. They better hurry up and get back to the house, because there's already a squatter in there. Oh, that's not a squatter. That's crazy Uncle Pete. Why did he decide to come out now after all this time? Who knows? Maybe he's psychic and knew Big Mama was gone. Maybe he's just pretending to be crazy and comes out at a certain time when nobody is there. Thought you motherfuckers would never leave. Seeing Uncle Pete was enough to get Maxine nostalgic, so she pulls some strings and blocks the sale of the house and calls Terry all the way out to a restaurant to tell her the good news. This really shouldn't be something that causes an argument, so I'm gonna have to give Terry a point for needlessly escalating the situation by walking out. They 2 and 2 now. Surprisingly, Ahmad's plan comes together and he manages to get everybody in the house even though they all hate each other. Even Cousin Faith is there. Man, I would die from the awkwardness. Money really is quite the motivator. It goes how all Joseph family get-togethers go. Terry takes credit for getting Lim out of jail, which is a dumb thing to say because you're the one who put him in there in the first place. You get a point for that. You know how every family has that one member with no filter? Well, that's Bird in this family.
You know what, Terry? You need to mind your own damn business, all right? Did nobody ask you for your help? You need to be worrying about your husband and why he's sleeping with her.
Ouch. Hey, I wouldn't judge. You was one dinner away from sloppy in-outs with your ex-boyfriend. Miles can't take being on the spot anymore and decides he's out of there, but not before wishing everybody luck with the money. Apparently Miles didn't tell his moms about the money, and oh, you in trouble. He has to admit he made it up, but when the family trips over it, he reminds them just how terrible they are. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but part of the reason that Brandon Hammond got the role on Tales from the Hood is because he can cry on cue. It comes in handy here, and he really sells the scene. Interesting he can channel his inner Big Mama in situations like this, but can't remember that she told him not to put stuff on the goddamn stove. Y'all won't have to worry about selling this house in a minute. They waste way too much time basically spreading the fire before somebody remembers that they have a fire extinguisher. Honestly, it's a good thing the stove is destroyed. Y'all need to eat better anyway.
Uncle Pete, oops, you all...
You ain't slick, Uncle Pete. You realized the house was on fire for real and you was trying to escape. And with the money at that, I'm telling y'all, there's nothing wrong with this dude. He's been sitting up there this whole time staring at that money and just waiting on Mama Joe to die so he could take off. That's the story I want to hear about. The story of Uncle Pete. To hell with the rest of these people. The ending suggests that the money is supposed to solve all their problems, but it really doesn't though. I see they're growing food now, so I guess they're eating healthier, but literally nothing was addressed in this movie. These people don't need food and money, they need counseling. Let's get to the grade. For the simple fact that it doesn't show an extremely hood and ignorant family, or go too far in the other direction and show a high-class arrogant family, Soul Food gets extra points with me for presenting a normal everyday family, flaws and all. Even though the movie is called Soul Food, the food aspect of it is the weakest part of it, I feel. It really only serves to get everybody in the same room, but they will still have the same problems with each other with or without the Sunday dinners. And if I'm being honest, getting together on Sunday just made things worse. Then to add to that, the food is directly responsible for the death of one of the family members, and it's never really addressed. They just keep on eating the same stuff as if nothing happened. It's a little weird. However, I do like the fact that the family is so realistic. There is such a thing as overwriting characters, and it's a good thing when a director or writer can pull from their own experiences and ground everything in reality. It really comes through when watching Soul Food, and that helps it resonate with the audience because it's easier to relate to something that's written about you and not written for you, if that makes sense. I'm sure some of you remember this being somewhat of a feel-good story, but it really isn't. It definitely leaves more questions than answers, but it's also one of those movies that doesn't really need a sequel and wants you to accept that this is just how some families are. My grade for Soul Food is a C+ for its realistic portrayal of a middle-class black family, even though it fails to confront and address its most important conflicts. And that does it for this episode of the BlackTrack. As usual, let me know what you thought about the movie Soul Food in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help me grow my channel. And until next time, I'll holla at you.